It's been more than a year since SZA's sophomore record, SOS, released. This album was a huge success, spending its first 7 weeks atop the charts, matching a record set by Whitney Houston's sophomore record. This album is still charting in the Billboard 200 as of this recording. It has spawned 5 different top 10 hits, with Kill Bill being her first solo #1 hit, and a sleeper hit, Snooze, spending all of 2023 on the charts. Beyond charting success, it is universally acclaimed with a 90 Metacritic score. SOS has garnered 9 different Grammy nominations, including Album of the Year. The Rolling Stone has named it the 351st best album of all time, beating her debut Control, which is listed at 472. This has only been out for a year. A concept I've discussed many times on this channel, sophomore slump, was not even in question here. SZA has teased Lana, a project that is meant to be a deluxe version of this record, but may as well be its own record. In this video, I'm going to talk about what we know about the album's conception, some of the themes of the record, and the journey that she takes us on, and why I think that it's one of the most seminal records of the 2020s so far. But before we talk about SOS, I want to thank Ritual for sponsoring this video. This year, trade unrealistic resolutions for daily habits that really stick. Research shows that only 9% of people who make resolutions keep them. One of my resolutions this year is to keep being healthy. At least for me, part of that is taking my daily multivitamin. Ritual is a brand I can trust because of their transparency when it comes to where they get their ingredients and why they use them. You can trace their decision-making process behind each and every ingredient, from where they source them to their very own environmental impact. Ritual uses 100% recycled materials for their packaging. I use Essential for Men, which contains 10 quality nutrients that honestly can be hard to get from my diet alone. I like that I can take it on an empty stomach, and I like the fact that they make vitamins for everybody. Women, 50 plus, teenagers, they've got a selection. It's vegan friendly, non-GMO, there's no sugar, and it's delivered straight to your door. If you ask me if I practice what I preach, I definitely do take these vitamins. I mean, look. You know, the mint tab is such a nice touch because it really freshens your breath. I don't think I've ever had a vitamin that does that. This year, commit to a new daily ritual with 40% off your first month. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit the link in the description to start today. The origins of SOS. Solana Rhodes' journey to fame was not overnight. She started with self-released EPs before signing to Top Dog Entertainment in 2013. She released a series of EPs, S and Z, in 2013 and 2014, which was meant to culminate with A. A eventually became her smash debut, Control. In that time, her talent caught the notice of both Nicki Minaj and Beyonce, for whom she co-wrote Feeling Myself for. She also worked with Rihanna, appearing on the opening track Consideration for Anti, which I argue is one of the best records of the 2010s. Frustrated by constant delays by her label, SZA actually threatened to quit music in late 2016, but then she signed with RCA in 2017, who then released her debut Control in the summer. Control would spend 6.5 years on the charts, peaking at 3, garnering 4 nominations, and SZA a Best New Artist nom. Control made SZA a star. She would feature on a couple of tracks, including All the Stars with Kendrick for Black Panther, as well as Maroon 5's top 10 hit, What Lovers Do. She even got a spot on the Trolls 2 soundtrack, and hype for her follow-up was huge. In 2020, we found out news and controversy when SZA clashed with her label yet again over album delays. Hashtag Free SZA began to trend, and SZA herself had to step in to ask her fans for patience, but things remained tense. SZA dropped 2 singles, Hit Different with Ty Dolla $ign and Good Days, which was teased at the end of the former's music video. Good Days was actually a hit, landing in the top 10, and it was not meant to be a single. It became SOS's lead. 2021 brought us Kiss Me More, a collaboration with Doja Cat, which won the 2 artists their first ever Grammys, winning for Best Pop Group Duo. A SoundCloud droplet, I Hate You, became a viral TikTok hit and ended up becoming a single that charted at 7. 2022 was the year that everything came together. SZA recorded a majority of the record during this year, working with many producers. She brought back Thank God for Cody, who actually produced much of Control. She also recruited Rodney Jenkins, aka Darkchild, who served as one of the key producers on the record. She also recruited Benny Blanco, Babyface, Carter Lang, and The Rascals, amongst others. She also reached out out to a wide range of potential features like Billie Eilish, Harry Styles, Olivia Rodrigo, Drake, Doja Cat, and many more as the album neared completion, but she only got verses back from Phoebe Bridgers, Don Toliver, and Travis Scott. Initially due for a summer release, this record was delayed yet again with no deadline. It wasn't until October that SZA dropped Shirt, the next single. The stunning music video teased the song Blind. The album was properly teased by SZA on her birthday with the song PSA, which ended with SOS and Morse code. And I'll never forget the day that she dropped the stunning Princess Diana inspired cover for the record. Only after her performance on SNL did she give us a real release date, December 9th. The record dropped along with Nobody Gets Me, which netted her yet another top 10, but Kill Bill became the immediate hit afterwards, eventually cracking the top spot with Snooze peaking at number 2. SZA would go on to do the amazing SOS tour, which I was lucky to attend. That show was a killer, thrilling show that really just showcased her vocals and her showmanship. Decoding the story of SOS and its themes. SOS's title is a direct reference to the distress signal Save Our Ship. I think that alone speaks volumes about how this record is about anxiety and the act of saving oneself. Going to the tour and seeing it be performed as a journey really makes it feel like a voyage of self-discovery and healing. The album is anchored around this destructive relationship that ends and forces SZA to really grapple with the aftermath. The track listing is a non-chronological retelling of the highs and lows that she's faced. There's a clear start and end to the record, which sees SZA acknowledge that while she can forgive, she won't forget the darkness that she found herself in, even if she's left it. I used to think that the track listing felt a bit random, but it actually tells a solid story. The title track itself opens the record with a distress signal and Last Night I Cried setting the tone. It serves as a prologue, even mentioning the time that it took to make the record, how she's back, confident, snatched like a bandit, interpolating Listen by Beyonce at the end successfully. It's a cry for help. A big theme of the record is that many of these tracks deal with these feelings with violence and aggression. Kill Bill immediately follows, and I've talked at length about this song, but I want to reiterate how relatable and lethal this track is. There's a very cool lullaby sound with a revenge fantasy about getting even in there. SZA's talking to her therapist, trying to be mature, but the only way she can get rid of her feelings is to vanquish her ex, literally. Seek and Destroy continues that sort of theme. All missiles deployed, she hates to do it. Verse 2 has this really cool section where she repeats, now that I've ruined everything, she's free. I like that she takes the blame on this one. One thing that SZA does well is an outro. At the very end, she keeps singing No Control, which serves as a play because she's no longer who she used to be. Low speaks to the freedom that she's gained after Seek and Destroy. She's single, trying to make sure her new hookup keeps it on the low. Low is one of my favorite tracks because SZA flips the story. She's the one with the agency now, she's in charge. Travis Scott's ad-libs add some flair. The dark instrumental speaks to her headspace. Love is Dead. Love Language is a more reflective track, contextualizing her hurt. She reveals that she put real effort into wanting to connect with this ex in the first place. In the outro, she interpolates Aaliyah's I Don't Wanna before self-referencing Hit Different, which was left off the record. Some think that this section represents her ex's point of view, explaining how he was able to get her in. It closes with beeping Morse code spelling out the word distress. Blind speaks to the darkness that she's in. It's one of the centerpieces of the record. Her clever wordplay, the Julia Stiles Last Dance joke is just amazing. The pre-chorus is insane. The use of My Pussy Precedes Me to underscore how she knows people objectify her and that you still playing the pick me, which is a criticism that many people give to her. She's reclaiming that. All the love I seek living inside of me, I can't see I'm blind, speaks to how she knows that only she can save herself. It's a come to Jesus moment. Used with Don Toliver begins the cycle of acceptance and awakening. She laments being used and what she's lost over the years. Snooze comes in this really dreamy romantic fantasy. It's this loving ode to how far she'll go for who she loves, but in the bridge, it's even called into question if the effort is being reciprocated. Even in her dreams, she can't escape this empty feeling. Notice Me continues this theme of objectification. She doesn't want to be seen as just a girlfriend, she wants to be seen as someone's person. She wants her lover to recognize her needs, and again, the outro contains more speaking to the distress that she's in. Gone Girl's another cinema-inspired track taken from David Fincher's modern classic thriller. This time she speaks to the suffocation that this toxic romance has dealt. He's already lost her, she's gone. The bridge and the final chorus are some of her best work yet. The shift in melody and production is meaningful because it underscores the start of her transformation. I think of this as the emotional climax of the story. Smoking on My Ex-Pack is a straight-up rap song where she channels her frustration in the verse. She's bragging that he wants her back, but she sent him to the back of the bus. She's moved on. Jay Versace's production on this is really good. Ghost in the Machine with Phoebe Bridgers detours away from relationships to give SZA space to ponder the modern world, the lack of humanity and connection, and the advent of AI. The pre-chorus questions if a machine can give her what she's craving, human connection. Bridger's part on the song is about her stresses of being successful in touring and the strain that it has taken on her relationship. The outro posits the idea that morality is people's substitute for their lost humanity. F2F is an anthemic rock track that underscores this process that SZA is going through to move on. She can admit that she's fooling around to forget her ex, that she hates herself, but the outro finds her admitting that she knows that he's always loved someone else, and she's making breakthroughs and realizing that her coping's not healthy. This track was co-written with Lizzo, interestingly enough. Nobody Gets Me is this devastating ballad and probably the most autobiographical track on the record, specifically about her breaking up with her ex-fiance. The guitar backing calls back to Blind, the verses are very confessional and specific, and her vocals are divine. Benny Blanco's production really gives a distinct pop flavor to this track. Conceited coming right after is SZA embracing herself with humor, knowing that she's it. I feel like she was calling out people who said that she got a BBL, and then also she's joking about how people are minions, despicable me. The chorus is about her betting on herself and burning bridges. She's healing. Special brings her back to her control days. She's starting to regret giving up what made her special to a loser who made her hate and change herself. Each verse feels very diaristic. I felt like this was an evolution of Normal Girl and Drew Barrymore from her debut. Too Late really locks in this idea that the relationship behind the record is over. Both parties cannot trust or love each other. It's too dangerous. It'll combust. Far is one of my personal favorite tracks. It reiterates how she's finally putting in some distance. She's running away from the emotions and choosing herself. She doesn't recognize herself anymore because she defined herself through her ex. Shirt represents SZA's embrace of darkness. She has a new rebound. She's in control of the situation. It's a dark track about having to live with your demons. The bloodstain could easily be the aftermath of Kill Bill. She's still working through the grief, but before one enters lightness, one must experience the dark. She defined herself through her ex. Open Arms with Travis Scott opens with some words from SZA's late grandmother. Up until Travis's verse, she's really holding on to this devotion, but by the time that Travis's verse comes, they've both decided it's time to go. This track is so cathartic because there's no violence to it. I Hate You coming right after is very humorous and a reminder that SZA's still working through grief as best as she can. But the blame is no longer solely on her, it's also on her ex, and it's much healthier than how she was coping earlier on the record. Honestly, I've always thought that putting Good Days at the back of the record adds a sense of closure and joy. My favorite lines are, "I'll await my armored fate," because she knows that her future is protected, it's locked, and it's secured. There are some religious metaphors in there, and the final verse is recontextualized with the album. She doesn't miss her ex, she chooses not to respond, she's in the present, living for today. The final track, Forgiveless, closes out the story. She's left behind the darkness, she has forgiven the sins against her, but she'll never forget the darkness. Sampling ODB from Wu-Tang, who partially inspired her name, she really lays it out. She's leaving behind lovers, violence, materialism, and she's embracing her loved ones and the angels. She has saved herself, and she's finally free. Before I close out this video, I want to talk about how SZA is a genre chameleon. Beautiful story aside, SZA really transcends genre on this record. She delivers a skip-list 23-track record that begs you to really replay it the second it ends. SZA goes out of her way to really reject labels and genre. Each track really does sound distinct and different. The cohesion on the album isn't sonic, it's actually vocal. SZA's vocals bind together each track, her voice becoming a true instrument itself. Compare any two tracks on this record and you'll find that unless they share a producer or two, they don't really have much in common. Kill Bill has a doo-wop sound, Low is straight up melodic trap, Blind and Snooze are acoustic ballads, Notice Me is modern R&B, she even has a few rock-flavored tracks here and there. Prior to its Grammy nomination, I was curious to see where this album would be labeled. SZA is very transcendental. I don't think that R&B is a perfect label for SOS because it's also pop, rock, hip-hop. It's really for this reason alone I think this record has connected with everybody because it touches so many corners, it transcends demographics, it's very relatable. SZA's strength has always been her honesty and emotion. Each track is dedicated to a set of emotions and situations. It's a very defiant statement against the way that genre is used to discredit and arguably segregate musicians, whether it's through awards or general conversation. SOS is also a tribute to SZA's musical ancestors. SZA really pays tribute to bigger ideals, whether it's religion or, dare I say, questions to the culture at large. When I think of jack of all trades, I usually imagine someone like SZA. She has this ability to really genre bend and make her mark across the board. Rather than let genre and tone guide her, she uses it alongside her voice to tell her stories. The rest of the saying goes master of none, but I think she's the master of one, and it's herself. I think SOS is a testament to that. I've got to give it a 10 out of 10 for that alone. I really wanted to win the Album of the Year Grammy. I'm not sure if the Academy is brave enough to make a decision like that, but I do think that that's in my top 2. And that's a wrap. I just really want to shout out my members and my subscribers. Thank you so much for sticking with me. Comment below what your favorite track off SOS was, what you interpreted the story of the record to be, and whether or not you think it has a chance at Album of the Year. Once again, I just really want to give a quick shout out to Ritual. Thank you so much for sponsoring this video. Definitely check out the link in the description if you're interested. The QR code is right there. Thank you so much, Ritual, and I hope to see you all next video.